Hello and welcome to today's video about adding mixed numbers. First, let's talk about adding mixed numbers that have like denominators. One way to find the sum of mixed numbers is to treat the fraction and whole number parts separately. Let's look at this problem. 3 1/8 plus 5 3/8. The first thing that we are going to do is add the whole number parts, or 3 plus 5. 3 plus 5 is 8, so we simply write that down below. The second thing we're going to do is add the fraction parts. In this case, we're looking at 1/8 and 3/8. 1/8 plus 3/8 is equal to 4/8. So we will write this down below. If we were to reduce this fraction, which at this point in the year we should all be doing every time we work with fractions, we would end up with 8 1/2, because 4 is divisible by 4 and so is 8, and with that it turns into 1/2. Let's look at just one more example. The first thing we are going to do is add the whole number parts, which is 2 plus 3, and that is equal to 5. Then we are going to add the fraction parts, which are 7/8 and 5/8, and we are going to end up with 12/8. Looking at this answer, you're going to notice, hopefully, right away, that 12/8 is an improper fraction and needs to be simplified. We need to take 8/8 away from 12/8 to come up with a new answer. When we take 8/8 away from 12/8 right here, we're going to end up adding it over here to this whole number 5. Since 8/8 is the same thing as 1, 5 plus 1 is 6. We will then be left with 4/8. As in the last problem, we were left with 4/8, we simplified that down to be 1/2. So we are going to simplify this to 6 1/2 for our final answer. Finally, let's look at how to add mixed numbers that have unlike denominators. This process is a little bit more complicated, although none of the skills encountered here will be skills that you haven't learned before. In order to illustrate this, let's look at this problem. 3 3/4 plus 2 7/8. The first thing we need to do is find a common denominator for 3/4 and 7/8. First, I am going to write the whole numbers 3 and 2 on the other side of these equal signs. Since I know my 4 and 8 facts, I know that the common denominator for 4 and 8 is 8, so 7/8 will not have to change. We are going to change 3/4 into 8 by multiplying the top and the bottom by 2, which will give us 3 6/8 for our new fraction. Now that I have renamed my fractions so that they have matching denominators, I can add. First, I'm going to add the whole number parts, which are 3 and 2, and that is equal to 5. Then I am going to add the fractional parts, 6/8 and 7/8, which is equal to 13/8 down below. You can see right away that I have an improper fraction in 13/8, so I need to rename this so that it is not an improper fraction. I'm going to take out 8/8 from 13/8, and I will end up with a whole number 6, because I've added 8/8, or 1, to the 5. That leaves me with 5/8, and my final answer is 6 5/8, because 5/8 cannot be reduced any more than it already is. 5 and 8 only have one factor that is the same, and that is the number 1. As you know, if we were to divide 5 and 8 by the number 1, neither number would change. Let's look at one more problem to illustrate this process. Here I have 3 4/5 plus 2 1/4. Using the knowledge that I have about multiples, I know that the lowest common multiple of 5 and 4 is 20. So I am going to rename each one of these mixed numbers like this. I am going to multiply 5 times 4, which means I have to multiply this numerator times 4. Down here I'm going to multiply this denominator by 5, which means I have to multiply this numerator by 5. And then I'm going to do some rewriting. 3 and 2 carry over and stay the same, but 4 times 4 is 16, and I know that my common denominator is 20. Then on the bottom, I have 1/4, so 5 times 1 is 5, and 4 times 5 is 20. Now I have two fractions that I can actually add. As we've been doing all along, we are going to start with the whole number part of this problem. 3 plus 2 is equal to 5, so I'm going to write that down below. 16 and 5 is equal to 21, and I'm going to carry down their denominator. I can see by looking at my solution that 5 and 21/20 is an improper fraction. So I'm going to remove 20/20 from this fraction and add it over to the 5, which will make it 6. When I take 20/20 out, I'm going to be left with only 1/20. I'm going to carry my denominator down, making my final answer to 3 4/5 plus 2 1/4, 6 1/20. Just as a quick reminder, here are all of the steps for solving addition problems with both like and unlike denominators. Number 1. First, you are going to find a common denominator. If both denominators already match, you can go ahead and skip this step and move on to step 2. Step number 2 is to rename the fraction parts of the mixed numbers so they have the same denominator. Remember, if your denominators already match, you get to skip ahead and go directly to step 3. Step 3 is simply to add. I like to start by adding the whole number parts followed by the fractional parts, but if you would prefer to start with the fractional parts first, that is up to you. Remember that in addition, it doesn't really matter what order we go in, as long as we've added all the parts together to the correct matching parts on the other side of the problem. The fourth and final step to adding both mixed numbers with like denominators and unlike denominators is to rename the sum. This means that if the problem needs to be changed from an improper fraction into a proper fraction, go ahead and do that. Also, if you can reduce the fraction at all, you should do that in this step as well. Here are your practice problems of the day. First, solve this problem with like denominators. 6 2/3 plus 2 1/3. Don't forget to reduce the problem as far as it can possibly go at the end. Next, solve this problem with unlike denominators. 1 7/8 plus 8 1/6. Don't forget to show all of your work and reduce the problem down as far as it will go in the end. Good luck!